The movie's at $775 million globally after 10 days. It's ahead of Super Mario Brothers. It's the biggest movie trajectory of the year so far. Look, a 43% drop is amazing.
It's helping Oppenheimer, too.
Yes, it is. And I'll talk about that in a minute, because I agree with you, Tom. That's where I was going with this, is 43% is not only a great hold for a film, but 43%, a hold of 43% on a movie that started at 162 is bananas. I know not everybody likes it, but there is a part of me that is really happy for David Zaslav and Warner Brothers and Mattel on this one from a purely commercial standpoint. Now, we can talk about what the implications of the nature of this film may or may not mean for Hollywood movies going forward. But just from a business side, I'm happy for Warner Brothers. I'm happy for Zaslav, happy for Mattel. But Pro, go ahead.
I am so happy for David Zaslav. They have truly smashed the patriarchy. It is in shambles. Now, what I would say about this one is that what we were watching to see is, could a very narrow demographic support this movie at the level of a general audience movie? And the answer is yes, and maybe beyond. Mm-hmm. And so I think to accurately portray what we're seeing, we are watching as women, 35 and under particularly, but also older women as well, are going to see this movie in sort of a movement. Mm-hmm. And there is a fervor for this film that I think speaks to a market that has not been reached out to enough in the past. What we have yet to see, I suppose, is that fervor tied to the need for female-centric movies that key into femininity, or is this a market that is driven by feminist ideology? And we're talking about new wave feminist ideology. We don't know the answer to that yet. So to make that easier to understand, on one side, this could be the result of not having movies like Clueless or Legally Blonde or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, The Notebook, etc. You know, they just haven't been making those kinds of movies. And maybe Barbie was the release valve for women wanting films like that for so long. On the other hand, this could be the case that there are a lot of Gen Z and millennial women who have taken to this idea of smashing the patriarchy and misandry and men are bad. And we don't yet know whether or not, or to what degree those two camps are functioning within this movie's excitement. I definitely hope that it's the case that this is a movie that represents the need for female-centric franchises, and that it is not the rise of misandry within younger women in society. Because if that's the case, well, then we're in for a culture war that's bound by the various sexes, which I suppose there are two, but some might argue for otherwise. But we'll see. That's my take on Barbie. This has outperformed our expectations. Mm-hmm. Mission Impossible, we missed that one because I think Barbenheimer just absolutely cut it down.
And Sound of Freedom, too. That was the big one that nobody saw coming. And that, when you look at the demographic measurements for Sound of Freedom, that overlapped tremendously with Mission Impossible.
What did I say?
Yeah.
Well, think about this, Tom. This movie, so Barbie, you know.
They took Sound of Freedom, stole Mission Impossible's thunder, basically.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But on Barbie, think about this. Based on the demographics, this thing is reaching out to 30% of the general audience that you would typically see for a big film, right? For a blockbuster. It's reaching out to 30% of the total audience out there. And yet that 30% is supporting this film to such a degree that it's outperforming your blockbuster general audience films. It's amazing.
The question long term becomes, is it repeatable, right? And that's the big thing. Is it because this is Barbie and there's never been a Barbie movie like this ever before, and it's such a hot IP? And again, visually it looks right. And I can tell you, like I talked about previously last week, and when I discussed kind of my Barbie review, was my 15-year-old went to go see this, and all the political, social stuff in that movie just went over her head. She didn't give a flip about that. I mean, she even went on Midnight's Edge After Dark and talked about it. She's like, I liked it because it was pink, and it was Margot Robbie.
She did say it made her feel more self-conscious, though.
Well,
that was one thing that stood out to me. I thought was interesting.
Yes. And she's not the type to. She's very much an alpha, so she's probably not representative of all the 15-year-olds out there. But again, I don't know what it is that's driving this film really, and that's what's hard to put a finger on. Super Mario Brothers, like, that was simple. Super Mario Brothers was Mario. It's a huge thing. Everybody wants to see it. It crosses all spectrums. It crosses.
I think it's the same kind of thing, Valiant. I think we're I mean, who was it? You or Pro said something about it being such a niche market for Barbie. I don't think that's the case.
I don't think it's a niche market necessarily, but
I mean, here's the thing.
I think that it's not a 4-quadrant. It's not a 4-quadrant.
It isn't necessarily
film.
a 4-quadrant, but it's playing like one, and I think that should tell us something, right? Is that there have been Barbie fans that weren't necessarily female for a long time. I mean, Smithers on The Simpsons is kind of proof of that, right? Like, I think even the fact that, I mean, it's Malibu Stacy, but let's be real, we know what it is. And at the end of the day, isn't like the world's largest Barbie collector happen to be a homosexual man? Like I was going to say, don't underestimate the gay community and their reaction to this movie. Like, this is one of those movies that comes along once in a lifetime. I get it. The sad part is, and this is what even most people who like the movie agree with, is if the movie had just been what it was for the first half hour, it would have been a better movie. I don't know if this is repeat business or if this is now people playing catch up and FOMO, right?
Well, it could be. And I want to get to this next topic here with Oppenheimer as well, because I don't want to dwell on the Barbie stuff too terribly long. But
I don't know if Paulie wants to say anything on it yet, but yeah, sorry.
I saw Paulie was muted. I didn't know if he had to step out for a second.
But, I'm here.
Paulie, quick thoughts on what is driving the Barbie movie? What is driving the box office, do you think?
Women.
He's not wrong. That's the biggest part.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Well, okay. Break it down is that women are incredible at doing things together as far as groups, going out. You know, they make it a thing, they make it an event. So that kicked it off. And now Curiosity is continuing that. And to where my mom and Romy now want to go and see it. And they want to go see it together. A couple of weeks ago, they had it wasn't even a thought to them. So there's that. Like it's grabbed the female zeitgeist for sure. Absolutely for sure. So there is that. And then really quickly too, I'd imagine in the main cities, the main markets, the gay community is from what I saw, they're in it now. Whether what I have seen though is varied opinions on after the fact, after they've seen the film. So there's that. It's not it's not all, like, yeah, the patriarchy, smash it. It's a diversity of thought on what people feel about this film, which is kind of like how we've been, as far as the different opinions. So yeah, that's but I did say how long ago was it, WD, when we talked? You had said this was going to be the sleeper. I'm like, there's nothing sleeper about it. This is supposed to be a hit. Now it's a hit. Of course, no one saw this coming, but it makes sense.
I'm going to go back and reclaim it, Paulie.
This huge. Nobody expected this huge.
I'm going to reclaim it because it's a sleeper mega hit now, not just a hit.
Mega
Paulie,
hit.
Do you think it can beat Super Mario Brothers movie? Though that's really what I'm just flabbergasted that I think it now has a shot at beating Mario and becoming the biggest film of 2023.
That I think timing, yeah. There's still summer out. This is the perfect pocket for this is the perfect pocket to keep that success going. So
Tom, what did people laugh at you about?
Because I said that Barbie could make not only would I got laughed at when I said Barbie will make $1 billion, I said that it might actually beat Mario this year.
And last year, that's when you and I saw the teaser trailer. That's when that conversation first came up. We were both
well, not just that. It might even have been on this show last week where people in the chat were saying I was full of crap. If it was either this one or Mr. H. About what I said, it could beat Mario. I think it was Mr. H's stream.
Oh, that it could be. Well, I mean, yeah. At this point, it seems it has a better than average shot. of beating Mario. I mean, I got to be honest about the numbers.
There's no real competition coming up.
Well,
no.
Ninja Turtles is the only thing coming up. Sorry.
For the record, I have never laughed at Tom today.
I agree with that.
He yelled at me, but he didn't laugh
in the last 10 minutes.
In the last few minutes, he's right.
Let me say this real quick. We've got another guest to bring in, and then I want to hit some super chats real quick before we move on to Oppenheimer, because I want to get his thoughts on Barbie as well, and Oppenheimer and some other things. We've got Haunted Mansion to get to real quick. But like I said earlier, I have really been surprised, and I have to wonder, again, this is anecdotal evidence, but a lot of times you hear enough anecdotal evidence from real people, you start to have to ask yourself, how broad-based is this thought process? And I've heard from a lot of other parents, my age, 30s, 40s, that have young kids that, we're talking about moms here, moms that grew up with tons of Barbie dolls, that reluctantly we'll take the kids to go see it, or they really wanted to go see it because the kids had to go see it, the little daughters had to go see it, and then they saw it, and then were like, I really regretted taking him to see that. There's a lot of push going in to see this thing because it's Barbie. I saw a mom walking out of the grocery store today, little local grocery store. She had the little girls dressed up in all pink and Barbie. She was talking to the person behind the counter, and the guys were asking, did y'all just go see a movie? They're like, yeah. And he looks at the mom and is like, what'd they go see? She's like, oh, yeah, they went to go see Barbie. He's like, did you like it? And the mom's face was like that. And I think I'm not saying that's all of it, but I'm saying I feel like there's a significant portion of that because I keep seeing that. Paulie?
Just to add to that really quickly, I was at the Grove the other night, huge popular spot, AMC Grove. Mm-hmm. After I'd seen my movie, I was getting an elevator. There was a couple dressed in pink. I'm like, don't tell me Indiana Jones. I was just
kind of like when I used to work in grocery store and everybody buying stuff for spaghetti, and I'm like, oh, you're having steak dinner tonight, and they'd look funny at me.
Tonight.
Yeah.
So, young couple, good looking couple, hip, all that stuff. And I'm like, well, what'd you think about it? And they both looked at me. They didn't like it.
Yeah.
She was like a little more positive, but this was a young couple, like a very hip Hollywood couple. And he was just not having it. So I just want to add that.
The best thing that could happen out of this, the funniest thing would be that if Hollywood, Mattel, Warner Brothers, if they all buy into this and they go full force, Lena Dunham, Polly Pocket, ultra feminist wave, and that thing gets 50 million total. That would be hilarious.
They will get lanced.